Hey, if this is your first time, welcome to my channel. My name is Capri Danae. If this is not your first time, welcome back. As you can tell in the title, I will be talking about my miscarriage stories. Now, this is my third attempt trying to do this miscarriage story. I erased both attempts because I just felt like my voice was very raspy and I wasn't feeling it. So hopefully third time is the charm. So my miscarriage story is going to be split up into two videos. One video is going to talk about my first miscarriage back in 2012. And then my second video is going to talk about my other miscarriage back in 2020. So let's get started on the first one. And excuse me if my voice sounds raspy. I don't know what it is. I can't fix it. It's just who I am. All right, so let's get started. So back in 2012, I was dating my now husband. We had been dating for we've been dating for 2 years. We have been living together for going on almost 2 years as well. And so we were very close. We known each other since high school. And so, how can I say this? I guess my husband felt that he loved me so much that he wanted to give me a baby. So hopefully everybody who is watching this is grown, so you know what conception is. Unbeknownst to me, conception had started, if you guys get what I'm saying. Did the do, and then the next day, I remember waking up and I remember telling my husband, I was like, man, last night was weird. Like I felt like it was something like, just like stuff coming out of me. And he was just like, yeah. He basically said that he impregnated me. And I was like, what? What you talking about? And he was like, yeah, I impregnated you. Those not the words used, but that's basically what he said. So I was like, okay. And I didn't know how to feel. I had feelings of scared a little, but more excited because I've always wanted to be a mom. So I was excited. And I told a couple of people. I wanted to keep it a secret from my family because I was raised as a Christian. And even though I was grown, I was 21. I was still a Christian. I still believe in Christian morals, and premarital sex was not something I would boast about. So I didn't want to tell my family. So I just told a couple of people outside of my family, and they were excited for me. So this was October 2012. So everything was fine. Everything was great until the day before my first appointment. This day was weird because nothing seemed to be happening. Like there was no pre-complications or anything, but me and my husband did it. And then, sounds so weird saying this on YouTube, but that's just what it was. So then right afterwards, like, all this blood came out, and I want to say this is the day before maybe it was 2 days before my doctor's appointment, but all this blood came out and it was all on the sheets and stuff like that. And my husband like cleaned it up, wiped it up. It was nothing. I put a pad on and we went to sleep. And I believe the next day I had a pad on all day. And then I think the day after that was my doctor's appointment. But I'm trying to recall, because this was almost 10 years ago. I'm trying to recall that in my head I thought that it was spotting, but now looking back, it was way too much blood to be spotting. So fast forward to the day of my appointment. The nurse comes in, tells me undress from the waist down, and I tell her, like, I'm embarrassed because I have this pad on. I tell her, hey, I have a pad on, you know, I had some bleeding. And she was just like, just put your clothes in the chair and just put your clothes on top of the pad. So that's what I did. The doctor came in, she checked me, and as soon as she checked me, she was just like, basically she was like, I believe you're miscarrying. This isn't spotting. It's way too much blood to be spotting. And she told me to go to her hospital. So I called my husband. Back then, he really didn't know how to deal with trauma. So he didn't want to come with me to the hospital, and his granddad took me instead. So his granddad dropped me off at the hospital, and I'm basically there by myself. Nobody near me, nobody knows. People who do know can't come see me. And so I was there all alone. And so in the midst of this, I have an eye condition. I have an eye condition called keratoconus. And what it basically is, so say for instance, this is normal people's eyes. Your eyes are circular. You see through them, whatever. This is my eye. It's cone shaped. So normal people's eyes are shaped like this. My eye is shaped like a cone. That's why it's called keratoconus. And so I say that to let you guys, to give you a little bit of background. I used to have these contacts in, and they were specially fitted for my eyes. They were specially fit for my eyes. I couldn't wear glasses. That's a part of the condition. You can't really wear glasses. It's like having severe astigmatism. And so light comes through your pupils and everything, and your retinas all differently. So you really can't see. It's very blurry. So I had to wear these special contacts, and they were really, really small. They just covered like the black part of my eye. They were really tiny, but they were kind of shaped like this. They had a little bit of a cone to it, but not so much, because the way that the contacts were, they fit right onto my cornea like this. So you can imagine my eyeball is coned and my eye is rubbing up against this contact, and it scratches my eye. So I say all that to basically say, while I am at the hospital, I am having this irritation in my eye, more like if somebody scratched your eye. So I had it before. I already knew what had to happen, but I didn't want to because I was in a place by myself. So I knew I had to take my contact out, but I didn't want to because I was alone by myself. And sometimes both of them were hurt. Sometimes only one were hurt. And I believe it was this one, because I think this eye is like permanently scratched because of those contacts or whatever. So I get admitted. They put me in the room or area that has the partition, the little curtain in the middle, and the nurse tells me to undress. And so I start undressing, and there is this lady like being a creep right beside me. Like, she was creepy as crap. As I'm trying to take my clothes off and get my gown on, she's like peeking past my curtain, and I'm like literally in like naked, and the curtain in front of me is closed, and then the curtain that's dividing us is closed. She's peeking behind the curtain, and I saw her. This is before I took my contacts out, by the way. I could clearly see her, and she's like, oh. I didn't think anybody was in there. But you're looking at me though, so how do you not? So now I'm just like this freaking creepy woman. I have nobody here with me. She's freaking me out, and I'm lonely by myself. So basically, to try to fast forward a little bit, I'm sitting there and I'm scared, and I tell my sister-in-law and yada yada yada. And I'm sitting there, and the nurse comes in, and she tries to take my blood, and she couldn't find a vein. So now I'm freaked out because I don't like needles. I'm here by myself. I don't have anybody with me. So she's trying to get a vein, and she poked me, and it hurt so bad. Like, I started to cry, and she was apologizing, and she was sorry and stuff. And I was just so like, all that emotion that I try to keep in, because I'm not the type of person that just busts out in tears if I'm emotional. I try to keep it. I try to hold it inside. So I was holding it inside. When she put that needle in my arm and it poked the crap out of me, it just all came flooded out. Like, I felt like a baby. I felt like my mommy wasn't there. I wanted my mommy. Just all this emotion came. So she finally took my blood, and I remember just sitting there like, oh. And she's like, the doctor will be in with you pretty soon, blah, blah, blah. I was like, whatever. So I'm waiting there. And the doctor that came in was not my doctor. My doctor had to go deliver another baby. So I had no familiarity with this hospital. I had nobody there for me. So this lady doesn't have my record. She doesn't know anything about me. All she knows is that I was admitted for a miscarriage. Well, she said she did talk to my doctor, that my doctor told her that she was delivering another baby. So this lady comes in. She says she thinks I'm having a miscarriage, yada, yada, yada. She leaves. She tells me she'll be back. So then she comes back with the nurse in this wheelchair, and she tells me to get in the wheelchair. Doesn't tell me where we're going. Doesn't tell me what is about to happen. She's just like, get in the wheelchair. So we get in the wheelchair, and they wheel me into the back. I don't even want to say it's the back of the hospital, but it was the back of the area that I was in. So they wheel me into this room where there's a bed to lay on, there's walls. I don't know why anybody wasn't in it. I don't know. It looked like a place where you sit dead people before the morgue comes to pick them up. Like, say somebody died in like triage or something. Like, that looks like where you would go to sit a body just to get it out the way. It was creepy. It was cold. It was like a tan little bed. And so she told me to sit up on the bed. And as soon as she told me to get on the bed, my mother-in-law is calling me. And I couldn't answer because the back of the hospital didn't have any service, so I couldn't even tell her what was going on. I think Kevin's granddad had told Kevin's mom what was happening, and she called me. So I get up on the bed and I open my legs, and the nurse and the doctor there, I don't know what they did. To this day, I still don't know what they did. But all I know is she put her hand up there, and it felt like something popped. And so I remember like I wasn't in pain, but I do remember like a release of something. And so that was it. They didn't tell me what happened, and they wheeled me back into my room. So I called my mother-in-law, told her what was happening, and that was it. The doctor didn't come back in, didn't tell me anything else after that. That was the last time I saw her. So then I'm there by myself, and I'm extra nervous. I don't know if this was before the ultrasound technician came or not, but now I have to take out my contact. My eyes hurting, and I roll on my left side so I could just like get some type of comfort. And the daggone lady again is peeking through the curtain, and I'm like, I've been like laying on my left, and she pulls back the curtain, so I'm staring at her. Like, literally, I'm looking at her while she's doing it. And so as soon as she opens it, and I'm just like, she's like, oh. And I'm not the type of person to be like, chick, what are you doing? Like, I was too emotional back then. And I was just like, can somebody please remove me from this lady? So I heard her doctor say something like she was on, not suicide watch or something like that. Like she was a crackhead. She was something. Anyway, I was so mad at her because I could smell that they were giving her food and nobody wanted to give me food. They were like, after you see the ultrasound technician, then you'll be able to eat. I was starving. I had probably been there for probably about 4 hours. I think I got there around like 1 o'clock and maybe 2. And it was probably going on around 4 o'clock. And I was hungry. So fast forward, I'm waiting maybe like 45 more minutes. And then the ultrasound, no, rewind. I'm waiting there, and I start to feel like my stomach is cramping. And I'm like, my stomach hurts. And so the nurse winds up coming in, and I tell her that my stomach was hurting. It felt like I was having cramps. This freaking lady gives me Tylenol to take. Even though she was in the room when the doctor did it, and she knew what was happening, she still gave me Tylenol. Why would you give me Tylenol when you know that I'm miscarrying? Like, I don't understand. So now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know, to be honest, what really happened. I don't know if I had started to miscarry and she did something to continue the miscarriage. I don't know. I guess I'll never know. But the blood started filling up in my bladder, and I was like, I have to use the bathroom. And the nurse was like, you can't go to the bathroom until the ultrasound technician comes and takes you. She told the ultrasound technician to come get me, and we went to the room, and she told me to get on the bed, to lay back, and that she was going to see if the baby was still in my stomach. So she's looking around, and the more she presses on my stomach, the more it starts to hurt. I don't know why she didn't tell me I had fibroids back then, because I'm pretty sure I did, because I've experienced fibroid pain back, I remember, in like 2008, 9, 10. So I know that they were there. I don't know why nobody ever told me, but now that I know, I'm kind of thinking, like, as I tell this story, I'm like, this doesn't, I feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone. So anyway, she's like looking, and then she's like, nope. This is my stomach, and this is the thing. She's like, nope. And she's pushing, and my bladder is feeling, I have to pee. So I'm just like, oh my gosh. She's like, I know, I'm almost done. And she just goes saying, y'all gonna have to try this again. Nope. Yeah, no. Y'all gonna have to try this again. And I remember sitting there like, who says that to somebody? Like, I cannot make this up, y'all. Who says that to a 21-year-old young woman? Like, nobody, like, when you see 21-year-old, you're still pretty young. Like, I was still pretty young, still pretty young-minded. And the way I grew up, I always felt younger than what I am. So I was really feeling like I was 16, 18 years old by myself. So she finishes up, because I had asked her, I was like, can I use the bathroom? She was like, you have to wait. I need the fluid. She was like, your bowels are filled or something, whatever. She needed the fluid that was building up so she could see or something like that. So I couldn't use the bathroom. But after she finished, she let me use the bathroom. And I remember going to the bathroom and locking the door. And I remember as soon as I released, like, whoosh, everything, urine, blood, it just felt like a whole, like, balloon just first when the lady, like, popped it, it felt like a balloon popped. But then it just felt like that balloon was filled and it just released. And it was a lot of blood. And I remember just like crying out loud. Now I only had one contact in at this point. So I'm trying to like look and see if there was like a hint of a baby, like a finger or arm. I didn't know how big the baby was. I was only 8 weeks. So I'm trying to look in the toilet. I don't see anything. So I flush. And she had told me, so she heard me crying and she had came to the bathroom. She was like, you got to unlock the door. And for embarrassment, I just flushed the toilet. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. I just flushed the toilet. And she had said basically like she didn't want me to, but it's okay. She was going to try to see if she can put some of the specimen inside of a tube and take it to the lab or whatever. But I had flushed everything down. So we went back into the room. She cleaned me up, wiped me down. She was way nicer afterwards. And she wheeled me back to my room. So I'm back at the room, still hungry, still can't eat. I don't even know how long I was in there until another doctor came in. And this time it was a man. And don't want no man putting his hand up inside of me. It just, no. Traumatizing. So he came and checked. He was like, that he didn't think that, no, he said he came in and he needed to check my cervix and to make sure all of the baby had come out and all this other stuff. Now I'm only 8 weeks, so I don't know if he meant like all the placenta. I don't know what the heck. Nobody told me anything. So I'm totally confused at this point. So he sticks his whole freaking hand. And I am like up against the bed, back arched, just like uncomfortable. And I was squeezing his arm in between my thighs. And I remember him saying, you can let go of my arm now. But I was so tense, dude. Like, it looked like he was just trying to come out my chest. I didn't understand why he had to put his whole hand up there. So he basically said he didn't feel like the whole baby had came out. And that I'm going to have a D&C in 2 days. So he set my appointment for 2 days later. And then I was like, well, can I get something to eat now? And he was like, oh, we're about to discharge you. I was sitting here like, I think I was in the hospital for about 8 hours. If I could read the chicken scratch, because I do have my medical records, if I could read the chicken scratch of the hospital, I could probably tell you guys what it says, but I could not read it. And I wound up getting my medical records later on after I found out that I had fibroids. If you guys didn't see my fibro blend video, check that out. Get home, whatever, fall asleep. No, I get discharged. Kevin's granddad took me to go get a 10-piece nugget from McDonald's. Then I went home, went to sleep. 2 days later was my appointment for my D&C. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what a D&C even meant. I was just like, I just know this is something that I have to do. So Kevin took me up there. He waited with me all day. We signed in, checked in, waited with me. Then he waited with me for like an hour. And we were just on our phones and playing on our phones and just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then they called my name to come get me. And Kevin had to wait. And they put me in a gown. And they gave me this bomb mesh underwear, yo. These hospital underwear were the best underwear I ever felt in my life. They were like, you were protected by underwear, but you didn't have on underwear all at the same time. And it was amazing. So they had to give me underwear because I was still bleeding. Still had a pad on. They gave me a new pad. They put the little hat on me and put me in a gown. And I had to wait. So in that time I was waiting, Kevin was allowed to come back and chill with me. So he did that. And then I remember asking him to go charge my phone. And he was like, okay. So he was going to go to the car and charge my phone. And right after he left, that's when they came and wheeled me in the back. And he later told me like he was scared because he went to go charge my phone. He came back and I was gone, and it scared him, which I thought was cute. So they wheeled me into the room, and I remember I don't know if they laid me back first or they laid me back when we got in the room. I do remember them trying to put the mask on my face, and I do not like anything. I don't like my face being covered. Like, I will freak out. And so I freaked out. Like, nobody said, hey, we're going to put this mask on your face now. Just take a deep breath. Like, nobody said this like they do on Grey's Anatomy and stuff. Nobody said anything. They just picked me up and put me on the bed and then put the mask on my face. And I was fighting. And they kept saying, like, oh, calm down, whatever. But then nobody still said, calm down, count to 10. Nobody says that crap. And so I was fighting till I passed out. And so the next thing I remember is me waking up in a hospital bed. I hear a lot of people around me, hear beeping, and I'm in the bed like this, propped up, and I come into consciousness. And before I even open my eyes, my brain said, who took my underwear? That was the only thing I cared about. I lied to you guys not. Like, I had a pair of why didn't I have underwear? Wasn't I still bleeding? I don't know. My underwear wasn't there. And I think that they gave me a pair of mesh underwear when I had the miscarriage 2 days before, because I remember having some at the house and I was like, these are the best underwear ever. But I don't remember why I didn't have on underwear. And I don't remember them giving me a pad when I left. So that's awkward. Anyway. Just stuff coming to my recollection as I start talking. So I wake up. I don't remember them giving me any medicine or anything. And they tell me to call Kevin. And I call Kevin. And he's outside waiting for me. He got some Chinese food. He was waiting. Like, he made up for that 2 days later. He was there all day with me. And so they wheeled me out. And we went home. So, yeah. I guess that's the end of that story. So what I learned from that experience is basically speak up for yourself, because if you don't ask questions, they're not gonna give them to you. And I don't know why they weren't talking to me. I don't know if they thought I was underage, if I looked underage, because I don't wear makeup often. Like, this is just for YouTube. I don't wear makeup. I'm very short. I'm only 5'2", so I don't know if they knew how old I was or if they thought I was underage. I don't know anything. They didn't tell me anything. But that was the one thing that I did learn from that experience, was speak up, ask questions. If you don't know what's going on, definitely ask questions. I didn't know any questions to ask, and that was my thing. Like, I was new to this. This was my first time. I had only been reading books. Nobody even, like, they literally gave me, when I made the appointment, I believe they gave me this Similac pack or something. That was it. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what questions to ask or anything like that. What I do know is that they labeled my miscarriage as an ectopic pregnancy, which I know now is false, because a doctor that I talked to last year told me that in order for you to have an ectopic pregnancy, they have to do something to your fallopian tubes, Christian. They have to do something to your fallopian tubes, and it hurts. And so I was like, no, they didn't do that. I remember definitely saying that I had to get a D&C because I don't know that term from anywhere else. So I do definitely remember them specifically saying that, but the doctor said that's not a D&C. A D&C is for miscarriage. Ectopic pregnancy, you'll have to get a totally different surgery and it hurts. That's what she told me. And she was like, and they have to give you medicine or something after that. I was like, no, I ain't getting none of that. She was like, well, you didn't have an ectopic pregnancy, you had a D&C. But it just baffles me because it's like, if you don't know anything, they're not really trying to answer your questions. Like, that's just how I felt. I felt like nobody said anything to me and I couldn't tell anybody anything. Like, I felt alone. If people had questions I didn't know, all I know was that I had a miscarriage and that I had a D&C. And the doctor didn't even tell me anything on my follow-up. The only thing I remember her telling me is that I should tell my mom. And I was just like, no. She was like, it's going to basically be on their insurance. And I was just like, okay. If my mom wanted to say something to me, she'll say something to me, best believe. But she never did. So that's the only thing I could think of. If you guys want to hear about my second miscarriage and why I had to stop using Fibroblend, check me out on the next video.